Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel BEATthePTE, and in today's class we'll be discussing about the PTE academic exam as a whole overview, and we'll be discussing about two different topics, that is repeat sentence from the speaking section of the exam and write from dictation from the listening part of the PTE academic exam. So make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell notification icon as soon as you get, so that you can get updated as soon as we post videos. So unlike the common and the most popular English language tests like the IELTS and the TOEFL, the PTE tests you in 4 different aspects of the English language test. That is speaking, writing, reading, and listening. So here's how PTE does things differently, right? So here, PTE, every single task or every single section of the PTE academic exam is interlinked with another section of the PTE academic exam in one way or another. For example, if you're attempting some of the questions in the PTE speaking section, that question, you might be under the impression that it only contributes to your speaking section, but it might be contributing to your reading and as well as your listening section for your PTE academic exam as well. Similarly, the same logic applies to some of the questions in the writing section, the reading section, and the listening section as well. So coming to the first part of the PTE academic exam, as soon as you start your exam, the first section that you'll always come up against is going to be the PTE speaking section. In the PTE speaking section, you'll come across 5 question types on your test day, which is read aloud, repeat sentence, describe image, read tell lecture, and answer short question. Out of these 5 different question types, the most important questions are going to be read aloud and repeat sentence, and describe image and read tell lecture. ASAQs, which is answer short questions, are important, but they do not carry that much of an importance when compared to these 4 question types. So guys, I always tell my students to always remember when you're attempting your PTE speaking section to never compromise on the oral fluency. What do I mean by oral fluency? Let me give you an example. So like many of the international students who speak their mother language, they can speak fluently without any interruptions because it comes naturally to them, right? Without any pauses, any hesitations, any repetitions. So that's what it is. So basically, oral fluency is literally the number of words that you speak in a particular amount of time. So majority of the speaking section, guys, if you're able to get a 90 or 80 plus on your oral fluency on the enabling skills of the PTE section, your chances of getting a perfect or a 79 plus on your PTE section, 79 plus on your PTE in the speaking section is going to be really high. Pronunciation is important, don't get me wrong. Remember, I told you that every single question in the speaking section or in a particular section is interlinked with one another. Here, pronunciation, majority of these marks gets contributed to your reading section. So if you're losing some of your points in the reading section, it might not mean that you're weak on that particular reading section. It might be because you need to improve on your speaking pronunciation task. And coming to the next section that you'll come across on your PTE academic exam is going to be the writing section. Here in the PTE writing section, you will be coming across 2 different question types, that is summarize written text and essays. So both of these questions are equally important and they do contribute significantly to your writing scores. Here, summarize written text and essays. As I mentioned, and all of my students know that majority of these questions are going to be coming from the question bank. So literally, the writing section of the PTE academic exam is literally leaked out for you guys. So all you need to do is, for our premium students, go through these questions, note down the ideas and the important points, so that you can replicate it the exact same way on your academic test, on the test day. So the third section of the PTE academic test is going to be the reading section. Here you'll be coming across 5 question types. That is multiple choice, single answers, multiple answers, reordered paragraphs, reading fill in the blanks, reading and writing fill in the blanks. So out of all of these questions, the majority of the questions, which is highly important, is going to be for these different types. That is reorder paragraphs, fill in the blanks, reading and writing fill in the blanks. So around 25 to 30% of your reading score is contributed from reordered paragraphs. No, it doesn't carry any negative marking though. But for every wrong answer that you put in for multiple choice, multiple answer questions, it does carry a negative marking, where 0 being the minimum score that you can get for these. And how the fill in the blanks and the reading fill in the blanks and reading and writing fill in the blanks vary is that here the reading fill in the blanks only contribute to your reading score. Here the reading and writing fill in the blanks not only contribute to your reading score, but they contribute to your writing score as well. And the last task after the optional break is going to be the listening section. Here, you will be coming across 8 different question types, but PTE is really smart, guys, right? So at the end of the day, PTE is like a business, right? So PTE makes a lot of money for students who don't crack the exam in the first attempt. So the students who come regularly for the exam, like repeated customers, they make money out of that. So strategically, the most important questions on this PTE listening section is the summarized spoken text and write from dictation. And always, and I mean always, any sort of test that you write on any day or in any given day, write from dictation is always going to be the last question type that you write on your PTE academic exam. So if you don't properly manage your time in the listening section, your chances of reaching to the last question, which is the write from dictation, is going to be really tough. So trust me, guys, regarding the write from dictation, hands down, it might be the most important question out of all the different 20 question types that you will be getting on your PTE academic exam. Because on your test day, generally, you might be coming across 3 to 4 questions from the write from dictation question type. If you miss one question, the people who are trying to get a 79 plus on your PTE exam, your chances are next to impossible. If you miss 2 questions, your chances of getting 69 plus are next to impossible. If you miss 3 questions, your chances of getting 59 plus are next to impossible, guys. So write from dictation is one and the most important question that you will be coming across on your PTE academic test day. But don't worry, guys, I got you covered. So here we'll be discussing about all the strategies which has helped me nail down these questions and get a perfect 90 score on my PTE academic exam. So let's have a look at the score breakdown for the PTE academic test. So the first section is the PTE speaking section. So the PTE speaking section is the only independent task where 100% of this PTE score, speaking section score, comes from the PTE section, speaking section itself. So it has 100% contribution, which is being added. What do I mean by this? So writing, reading, speaking sections do not contribute anything to your speaking score. So if you're lacking in your PTE speaking section, maybe you need to concentrate on those 5 question types that we discussed about earlier. And the second section that you will be coming across is the writing section. Here's the interesting thing, guys. So just around 40 to 50% of your writing section is coming from your writing part of the PTE academic exam. The remaining 50 to 60% is coming from the listening section and the reading section combined. Yep, pretty interesting, huh? Yeah. So if you're lacking in your writing score, maybe you need to improve on your listening and reading section. Yep, have a look at. And the third section on the PTE academic exam is the reading section. Here, around 30% of your reading score is coming from this PTE speaking section. Similarly, 10% from the writing section. Can any one of you guys guess which question this does come from? It's coming from summarized written text. Here you will be generally given some text where you would be required to summarize it into one sentence. Pretty interesting, right? And the remaining 60% comes from the listening and the reading section of the PTE exam. And finally, the listening section, around 50% of the score comes from the speaking section. Interesting, huh? And the remaining 50% comes from the listening and the reading section of the PTE academic exam. So, most important in the listening section, guys, always manage your time. And you do need to keep at least 5 minutes for the write from dictation, because majority of this 50% contribution is coming from write from dictation. So coming to today's class, we're going to tackle a repeat sentence, and on your test day, the computer screen will look something like this. So you'll have generally come across 10 to 12 questions of this question type on your test day, and the screen will look something like this. You will generally hear an audio of around 8 to 12 words, and the status will go from 3 to 1, and then the status bar will go to beginning in 3, 2, 1, and the recording will start. So here you will be listening to a sentence of around 8 to 10, 12 words, and you will be speaking that sentence back into the microphone when the status gets into recording, right? So here, this question type not only contributes to your speaking section, but also contributes to your listening section as well. So these are the things that I want you guys to keep in mind while tackling these sort of questions. So number one is always maintain the contractions. What do I mean by contractions? Well, let's just suppose that you hear a sentence saying, John can't come in today. So you know that can't can be written to cannot, right? At any cost, do not expand can to cannot. You always need to refrain and restrain the sentence as exactly how you heard. You need to maintain all the contractions. If the sentence is John can't come in today, make sure that you repeat that exactly. Yep. And the second thing that I want you guys to remember is always maintain the singulars and the plurals. What do I mean by this? Let me give you an example. So if you hear a sentence saying that all the students are required to be in the classroom by 5 p.m. today. Yep. So here you should have heard a plural form of student, which is students. So just in case, like by mistake, if you mention a sentence saying that instead of maintaining the plural form of student, you just mention student, like all the student is required to be in the classroom at 5 p.m. So not maintaining the form of the word, you do lose points for that as well. Yep. So the only tip which really helped me out, guys, is this. You might be required to train, maybe practice hundreds, maybe 200 different types of repeat sentences, which are all available on our question bank. And there are questions that are being repeated here. So practice around 100 to 200 questions of this type. So what really has helped me, guys, is when I'm tackling these questions, I tend to stare at just part of the screen where it has no text, when the audio is being repeated, right? I try to repeat that sentence again in my head before the audio itself completes and before repeating it into the microphone. So there are basically many advantages of doing this. First, when you're repeating it in on your head, your brain works something like a Google search, right? It tries to fill in the gaps before you're hearing the text. So it helps you understand the sentence by breaking it down into manageable chunks and understanding the core meaning of what the sentence is about. Yep. I don't mean to be cliche though. The more you practice by using the strategy, the more powerful and more efficient that you'll be for these sort of questions, right? So let's just start off with a couple of practice questions, guys. These questions have been repeated in the recent PTE academic test. So the first one is, I'm glad you got here safely. 3, 2, 1. Repeat the sentence back into the microphone, guys. All right, and this is the sentence which you would have heard. How I would have broken down the sentence is that when I'm hearing to this audio, right, I'm glad you got here safely. I would have broken it down into 3 chunks. I'm glad you got here safely. So it's not necessary that you need to break it down exactly like this. Your brain has a tendency to break it down according to its capability, or however you want to break it down. Yep. So the next sentence is, physics is the subject of matters and energy. 3, 2, 1. Repeat the sentence, guys. So this is the sentence which you guys would have heard. So this is how I would have broken down the sentence. Physics is the subject of matters and energy. So generally I tend to break it down for like 3 to 4 clauses. Whenever you're hearing the sentence, guys, just try to repeat it as much as possible in your head before the sentence completes. So you'll be able to get at least reproduce more than 50% of the content that is in this sentence by using this strategy. And the last question, which is the third question, is, I used to have a cup of coffee with 1 sugar. 3, 2, 1. Repeat the sentence, guys. Yep. So this is the sentence which you would have heard, and this is how I would have broken down these sentences. I used to have a cup of coffee with 1 sugar. I used to have a cup of coffee with 1 sugar. So these are the 3 clauses, or the 3 parts that my brain would have broken down while I was listening to the audio and repeating it in my brain. So that's it for the free trial today, guys. For all the premium members, you will be receiving an email for our private class. We should be starting it off after 10 minutes of break. So for any new visitors, we do offer 3 different packages for the PT academic test, which is at $30, $50, and $120. Here in the $30 package, you will be given access to our material along with our coaching for 2 weeks. For the $50, it's going to be for 4 weeks, and the $120 is going to be for 12 weeks. So if you have any questions, do check out our website, which is going to be in the description down below. And see you in the next class, guys. See ya.